Hello everyone, and welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee on this cold December day. And as you see, Big Red is in full bloom still. And I've received a lot of questions from you all, so I thought, let's just do a long video today. Go grab you some hot tea or some coffee and let's hang out with Big Red. And I'm going to answer some of your questions today. My channel is sponsored by the Orchid Supply store, and this is what I have Big Red and Snow White, my Thanksgiving cacti, planted in, is the Professional Blend Glacier Gold. I will place in the description box below the information for the Orchid Supply store. This is not the time to repot your Thanksgiving cacti, but I can tell you exactly what you need in the spring for you to repot your Thanksgiving cacti successfully. And when you place an order from them, if you use my coupon code Amy, then you will receive a 12% viewers discount. Okay, so let's get to some questions. How old are my Thanksgiving cacti? Big Red here is about 7 or 8 years old. Everyone thinks that he is ancient. He is not that old of a plant, believe it or not. He looks it, but he's not. He was given to me when he was about a year old. So he has just bloomed and grown so beautifully. And then my Snow White I've had for about 6 years. So it just depends on the amount of light and the amount of fertilizer you give them as to how big they're going to grow. And obviously, Big Red here has had a lot of light and a lot of fertilizer. I've already mentioned that you repot these in the spring. I'm asked that a lot this time of the year, and it's probably because people pay a lot of attention to their Thanksgiving cacti while they're blooming, and they want to plan ahead, which is smart. They like to be in small pots when they are young plants. Let's say you are growing one that's in a 3 or 4 inch pot right now. In a year or two, you're probably going to want to go up to a 4 or 5 inch pot. Don't go up too much in size each time you repot, or they're going to grow really, really fast. Now, if you've got a huge mature plant like Big Red, I would not suggest you repot these every 5 or 6 years. As a matter of fact, this is a 16-inch decorative pot that I have him in. There was no nursery pot that I could find that he would even fit in. So he is actually in this decorative pot that's 16 inches, and this is his home. I will be just amending the soil on this plant from now on, because repotting them when they're this size, oh, that is not fun. How long do the blooms last? That is going to be dependent on your conditions. They can last a week or two before they fade, but that's going to be dependent on the temperature and the humidity of your room. My sunroom at this time of the year stays between 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, and the humidity is between 40 to 50%. If I let the humidity go below 40%, I notice that the blooms don't last as long. So they do like humidity. If you place your Thanksgiving cactus while it's blooming in a hot, dry room, the blooms aren't going to last for very long. They're going to fade very fast. Here's another question I'm asked really often. Some of the branches are falling out of my cactus. What am I doing wrong? That is actually normal. What's going on is this time of the year, they're blooming, and the branches get very heavy with all these blooms. And so it's a way that the plant just grooms itself. A branch will just fall out. This happens to me. This has happened to Big Red. One way that you can keep that from happening is place it in a larger outer pot that's going to support the branches a little bit better. If a lot of your branches are falling out, it could be that your overwatering the plant, or you may need to be repotting it in the spring. It might need a larger pot. My friend Chrissy in Texas said, "What if the blooms on my plant are curling up instead of blooming out?" Okay, let me tell you what's probably happening, Chrissy. If your blooms aren't blooming out, but they're curling up instead, it usually means that the plant needs more water. Now, don't overcompensate. That means just water a little bit more, or you might need to water it a little bit, maybe twice a week instead of once a week. But if your blooms are curling up, it usually is a sign of dehydration. Another commonly asked question is, I just got a new Thanksgiving or Christmas cactus, and as soon as I brought it in my house, about 2 days later, all the buds and blooms fell off of it. I hear this all of the time, and that is a totally normal thing to have happen. You didn't do anything wrong. It is because the plant got moved. The buds and blooms are very delicate. This is the most sensitive time of this plant's life. The buds, if they get in a different environment, let's say they go from the nursery to a grocery store or a garden center and then to your home, then the buds are completely out of their element. They're under completely different conditions. They've been moved, and they know that, and they will fall off. I believe it kind of makes the plant say, oh goodness, we need to conserve our energy because something's happened here. The good thing is if you take care of your cactus properly throughout the year, they will rebloom for you next year. But this is one of the quirks about the plant. People see these beautifully blooming Thanksgiving cacti in the stores this time of the year, and they want to bring that home and enjoy it, and then all the buds and blooms fall off the plant, and you're so disappointed. I've been there. I know. I've bought them like that and, thought that I was going to have a beautiful holiday centerpiece, and then 2 days later, all the buds are sitting on my table, and I don't have a bloom on the plant. But it's nothing that you did wrong. It's just what the plant does. But next year, it will bloom for you beautifully if you follow the regular routine of care for these plants. Now let's say you have one blooming in your home that's been in your home all year long and it's bloomed for you. Can you rotate the blooms as they bloom out? Because it seems like one side of the plant will bloom and the other side will kind of come out of bloom. Yes, I do rotate. I can't show you how to do that to Big Red because he is very, very heavy. But you can rotate them around so that the blooms are showcased on the outside of the room where you're going to look at them. So that much moving you can do, but don't move these around very much when they're in bud and bloom. They just don't like it, and you risk the buds and the blooms falling off the plant prematurely. As far as watering is concerned this time of the year, I water around once a week. If you're in dry conditions though, or hot conditions, you're probably going to need to water a little bit more than that. You don't want to keep them on the wet side at this time, because if you keep the conditions right, if you keep the plant cool and kind of not wet, but you need some moisture to keep the blooms pretty, right? So there's kind of a fine line. What I like to do is I like to check my soil. And once the soil starts getting dry, about an inch down into the soil, that's when I know I need to water it again. So that's how you can kind of walk that fine line between too much and not enough watering this time of the year. And this time of the year, I don't use any fertilizer. I don't use any seaweed extract, no nitrogen. You don't need to be using anything to confuse the plants. They've already done what they're supposed to do. They are blooming. So at this point, I just use regular reverse osmosis water. Back in the early fall, I put Espuma garden lime around the plants so that they have a constant supply of magnesium and calcium, but I don't even use CalMag on them this time of the year. I don't start fertilizing them again until the springtime. And that's been a lot of information. I hope that this helps everyone. It helps me to just remind myself about the care every single month with these plants. So thank you all for hanging out with Big Red and me. I want to encourage you, when these are in bloom, just sit and enjoy the blooms. Admire them a lot, take pictures of them, do videos with them. It's so much fun from year to year to see how they grow, how they bloom. It kind of helps you to keep a diary of things. I love looking at old pictures of Big Red when I just had him a year. He was about 20% this size. I mean, he was just small. So I just enjoy sharing the beauty of this plant with you all. And I want to thank you all again for watching. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate all of the great comments and the questions. It helps me to be a better grower, and it helps me to know how to help you, and also how to help everyone who watches my channel. Because usually the questions that you have are the questions that everyone else has too. So before I end this video, I would love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your plants. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face toward you and give you His shalom peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.